The massive meeting hall of the Galactic Council was bigger than any building humans had ever constructed. Soft blue light glowed from the walls, and images floated in the air showing thousands of planets connected by trade agreements and treaties. Representatives from 200 different alien species sat in curved rows. Each one looked completely different from the others. Some wore tubes to breathe methane gas. Others floated in special gravity fields. A few existed only as patterns of pure light. Ambassador Marcus Chen stood at the speaking platform, wearing a simple gray suit that looked dull next to the jeweled armor and colorful robes surrounding him. He was a short man with graying hair and tired eyes. He had represented Earth for 12 years, and each day felt heavier than the one before. Chen's voice was calm but strong as he addressed the council. The Vrex Dominion has taken control of 17 star systems in just 6 months. They have broken every treaty. They have ignored every warning. If this council does nothing, more innocent people will die. A sound like bubbling water came from the Aquilian delegate's tank. The universal translator turned it into laughter. The human talks about taking action, but what can his species actually do? Humanity has been part of this council for 200 years, yet you barely have 300 ships. You spend less on military than most vacation cruise companies. More laughter rippled through the chamber. Chen felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his expression neutral. This wasn't the first time his people had been mocked in this place. The Vrex delegate rose from his seat. Commander Thrax stood almost 3 meters tall with his muscular forearms crossed over his armored chest. His face resembled an earth lizard, but his eyes held cold intelligence. The Dominion takes what belongs to us, Thrax hissed. We are warriors. The strong survive and the weak serve. This is the natural order of things. Natural order or tyranny disguised as philosophy, Chen replied calmly. Thrax's jaw clicked in what might have been amusement. You humans talk endlessly about peace and law. You write poetry and paint pictures. You send musicians to perform at cultural festivals. Tell me, Ambassador Chen, when did a human last fire a weapon in anger? Your people are gardeners, not warriors. Everyone in the galaxy knows this. Chen looked directly at the Vrex commander. For just a moment, something dangerous flickered behind his eyes. Something ancient and terrible, but it passed quickly. We choose peace because we understand war, he said quietly. You choose peace because you are weak, Thrax replied. This council is weak. The Dominion will continue expanding, and there is nothing any of you can do to stop us. The council session ended without any resolution, exactly as Chen had expected. He walked through the gleaming corridors of the council station, passing species from across the galaxy. A merchant nodded politely. A group of students stared at him with their many eyes. Everywhere Chen went, he felt the weight of their assumptions. Humans were soft. Humans were naive. Humans had forgotten how to fight. If only they knew the truth. That night, Chen sat alone in his quarters and opened an encrypted communication channel to Earth. The connection took several minutes to establish, routing through relay stations and security systems that most species didn't even know existed. A woman's face appeared on the screen. Admiral Sarah Torres looked like she could be Chen's sister, with the same dark hair touched with gray and the same lines around her eyes. But where Chen's expression was diplomatic and measured, Torres had the hard gaze of someone who had made difficult choices. They laughed at me again today, Chen said. Good, Torres replied. Let them laugh. Let them feel safe. Thrax is going to make a move against Earth. I can feel it. He sees us as an easy target. Torres nodded slowly. Our intelligence confirms it. Vrex fleet movement suggests they're preparing for a major operation. They've been pulling ships from border patrols and gathering near the Sol system. How long do we have? A month, maybe less. Torres leaned forward, her face grave. Marcus, if they attack, you know what happens next? Chen closed his eyes. 217 years. That's how long we've kept the protocol sealed. We made a choice as a species. After the final war, Torres said, after we almost destroyed ourselves, we decided to be better. We hid what we were capable of. We showed the galaxy only peace in art and culture. We gave ourselves time to heal. But the scars are still there, Chen whispered. They'll always be there. The question is whether we let those scars turn us into monsters again, or whether we use what we learned. Torres's voice softened slightly. The containment protocols exist for a reason, Marcus. If Earth is threatened, if our people are in danger, then we do what we must. But we do it with control and purpose. Never again like before. Chen remembered the history lessons every human child learned. The final war of 2087, when nuclear fire had scorched continents and biological weapons had turned entire regions into dead zones. The darkness that followed when barely 1 billion humans survived. The centuries of rebuilding, of learning, of choosing a different path. But the weapons had not been destroyed. The knowledge had not been forgotten. It had been sealed away, locked behind protocols that required authorization from every human government simultaneously. The memorial arsenals, they were called, reminders of what humanity could become if they ever forgot the price of hatred. "I hope it doesn't come to that," Chen said. "So do I," Torres replied. "But hope isn't a strategy. I'm bringing the Containment Council together tomorrow. If Thrax is foolish enough to attack, we'll be ready." The call ended, leaving Chen alone with his thoughts. He walked to the window of his quarters and looked out at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, a small blue world that the galaxy considered insignificant. The birthplace of poets and dreamers, they said, a planet of philosophers who had given up their violent past. Chen touched the glass, leaving a fingerprint on its surface. "They have no idea what we survived," he said to the empty room. "What we learned, what we became." Across the galaxy, on a dozen human colonies and outposts, similar conversations were taking place. On Luna Base, beneath the gray dust of Earth's moon, maintenance crews began running diagnostics on systems that had been dormant for centuries. On Mars Station, engineers checked seals on underground facilities that official records claimed were archaeological sites. In the asteroid belt, mining ships that looked like commercial vessels activated hidden weapon systems. The human defense network was vast and ancient, built in the years after the final war when humanity had sworn two things: never to wage war for conquest, but always to be prepared to defend themselves. Every generation since had maintained the containment protocols, hoping they would never be needed but ensuring they remained ready. 3 weeks later, Chen was awakened by an emergency alert. His communicator screamed with priority messages. He activated the display and felt his blood run cold. The Vrex Dominion had assembled a fleet of 3,000 warships at the edge of the Sol system. It was the largest military force humanity had seen since joining the galactic community. Against Earth's official defense fleet of 300 ceremonial vessels, it seemed impossibly overwhelming. Chen dressed quickly and opened the encrypted channel to Earth. Torres was already on screen, surrounded by military personnel in the command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. "They're here," Chen said unnecessarily. "We see them," Torres replied. "Thrax is broadcasting on all frequencies. He's demanding Earth's immediate surrender and access to our resources. He's giving us 12 hours. Can we stop them?" Torres looked at someone off-screen, then back at Chen. "The Containment Council has voted. 7 billion people made the decision. The protocols are unlocked, Marcus. For the first time in 217 years, humanity is going to war." Chen felt something twist in his stomach. Relief and dread mixed together. "God help us all. God help them," Torres corrected. "They have no idea what they've done." When morning came, people across Earth went about their daily routines, unaware of the threat hanging above their planet. The sky looked normal, the sun rose as it always did, and life continued peacefully. Then the sky began to change. It started as a shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot pavement, except this shimmer was 30,000 kilometers above the planet's surface. Then the shimmer tore open, and something massive pushed through. Ships began emerging from Earth's hidden defense network. They had been disguised as research stations, mining facilities, and communication satellites. Now they revealed their true nature. Weapons platforms that had been silent for over 2 centuries came online. Defense systems built into asteroids activated. Military vessels that had been waiting in the darkness powered up their engines. The Virex fleet had expected to face 300 ceremonial ships. Instead, they found themselves confronting thousands of combat-ready vessels that had appeared seemingly from nowhere. Commander Thrax stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. Where did these ships come from? His sensors should have detected them. His intelligence reports had shown Earth as practically defenseless. Admiral Torres's face appeared on every Vrex ship's communication screen simultaneously. Her expression was calm, almost friendly, but her eyes were hard as steel. "Commander Thrax," she said, "you made a critical error. You assumed that because we choose peace, we are incapable of war. You believe that because we hide our weapons, we have no weapons. You thought that because we value art and culture, we have forgotten how to fight. She leaned forward slightly. Let me educate you. Humanity has been waging war for 10,000 years. We have studied warfare as both an art and a science. We have written entire libraries on military strategy and tactics. We have fought with spears and swords, with gunpowder and missiles, with weapons that could destroy our entire world. We nearly did destroy our world, which is why we chose a different path. Torres paused, letting her words sink in. But choosing peace and being incapable of war are not the same thing. We built these defenses over a century ago. We hid them in plain sight. We trained our forces in secret. We prepared for exactly this scenario because we learned one fundamental lesson from our violent history. Peace must be defended by those strong enough to wage war but wise enough not to. Thrax finally found his voice. You have more ships than we expected, but we still outnumber you. Our weapons are more advanced. Our warriors are bred for combat. Torres smiled, and there was no warmth in it. Your warriors have never fought an equal opponent. Your tactics are designed to intimidate weaker species. Your formations are impressive but inefficient. Your command structure is rigid and slow to adapt. We know this because we've been studying you since the moment you entered our system. She gestured, and the display changed. It showed detailed tactical analysis of the Vrex fleet, highlighting weaknesses in their formation, vulnerabilities in their ship designs, and gaps in their defensive coverage. We've spent 10,000 years learning how to fight, Torres continued. We've developed thousands of different tactical approaches. We've studied every form of warfare, from guerrilla tactics to fleet engagements. And most importantly, we've learned to fight opponents who are stronger, faster, and better equipped than we are. Because for most of our history, that's exactly what we faced. Thrax's mandibles clicked nervously. He looked at his tactical officers, seeing the same uncertainty reflected in their faces. This was not how invasions were supposed to go. You have one chance, Commander, Torres said, her voice turning cold. Leave our system now. Return to your dominion and tell them that Earth is not an easy target. Tell them that if they want peace with humanity, they must approach us as equals, not as conquerors. And if we refuse? Thrax asked, though his voice had lost much of its earlier confidence. Then we demonstrate what 2 centuries of preparation looks like, Torres replied. We will destroy your fleet. Not because we want to, but because you will leave us no choice. Make your decision, Commander. You have 5 minutes. The channel closed. Thrax stood frozen on his bridge, aware that thousands of his warriors were watching him, waiting for orders. He looked at the tactical display again. The human ships had positioned themselves with precision that spoke of careful planning and extensive training. They had surrounded his fleet without him even noticing until it was too late. His senior tactical officer leaned close. Commander, our scans show that many of their weapon systems are unlike anything in our database. We do not know their capabilities or range. Engaging them would be extremely risky. Thrax's pride warred with his survival instinct. He had come here expecting an easy victory, a chance to prove the Vrex Dominion's superiority. Instead, he had walked into a trap set by a species he had underestimated completely. Order the fleet to withdraw, he said finally, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. Full retreat back to Dominion space. The Vrex fleet turned and fled, engines burning at maximum power. Human ships escorted them to the edge of the system, making sure they actually left. No shots were fired. No weapons were discharged. But everyone in the galaxy would soon know what had happened. The mighty Vrex Dominion had been defeated without a battle. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Torres allowed herself a moment of relief. Around her, the staff erupted in cheers and applause. They had done it. They had defended Earth without firing a single shot. Torres opened a channel to Ambassador Chen, who was still at the Galactic Council station. The Vrex are retreating, she said. Earth is safe. Chen closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Thank you, Sarah. You and everyone who worked on this. We just changed everything, didn't we? Torres nodded slowly. The galaxy thought humanity was weak. Now they know differently. The question is what happens next. What happened next was chaos, but the productive kind. Within days, news of Earth's hidden military strength spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had dismissed humans as harmless dreamers suddenly reassessed their opinions. The Galactic Council held emergency sessions to discuss the implications. Ambassador Chen found himself suddenly popular. Representatives who had ignored him for years now sought his advice and friendship. The Aquilian delegate who had laughed at him before now approached with a formal apology. Even the other members of the council treated him with newfound respect, but not everyone was pleased. Commander Thrax, humiliated by his defeat, returned to Dominion space, burning with shame and anger. He reported to the Dominion War Council, a gathering of the most powerful Vrex military leaders. You retreated without fighting. The Supreme War Leader's voice dripped with contempt. You faced a primitive species and ran away like a frightened hatchling? Thrax kept his head high despite the shame. Supreme Leader, the humans were not what our intelligence suggested. They had thousands of hidden warships and weapon systems we could not identify. Their tactical positioning was flawless. Engaging them would have resulted in catastrophic losses. So you chose cowardice over honor? I chose survival over suicide, Thrax replied. The humans are not primitives. They are experienced warriors who have been preparing for this confrontation for over a century. They studied our tactics and found every weakness. Fighting them would have been foolish. The War Council debated for hours. Some demanded immediate retaliation, calling for a massive fleet to restore Dominion honor. Others, particularly those who had reviewed the tactical data from Thrax's encounter, counseled caution. The humans had revealed capabilities that changed everything. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other species were drawing their own conclusions. If humans could stand up to the Vrex Dominion, what did that mean for the balance of power? If Earth had hidden such extensive military capabilities, what else might they be hiding? The intelligence services of a dozen different species began digging deeper into human history. What they found shocked them. Humanity's past was drenched in blood. Wars that had lasted decades. Conflicts that had killed millions. Weapons capable of rendering entire planets uninhabitable. And through it all, an incredible capacity for tactical innovation and strategic thinking. One report, compiled by the Zenthari Intelligence Directorate, concluded with a chilling assessment. Humans are the most dangerous species we have encountered, not because they are the strongest or most advanced, but because they have spent their entire existence learning how to fight opponents stronger and more advanced than themselves. They are survivors who have made an art form of warfare. We recommend extreme caution in all future dealings with Earth. President Sarah Chen, who had authorized the activation of the containment protocols, addressed the people of Earth in a global broadcast. Her message was carefully crafted to explain what had happened without causing panic. My fellow humans, she began. I know many of you have questions about the events of the past few days. You saw ships appearing in our skies, weapon systems activating, and military forces mobilizing. I want to explain why this happened and what it means for our future. She paused, choosing her words carefully. When humanity almost destroyed itself in the final war, we made a choice. We decided to pursue peace, to focus on art and culture and science. But we also made another choice, one that we kept secret. We decided to never again be unprepared to defend ourselves. So while we showed the galaxy our peaceful nature, we quietly built the defenses necessary to protect that peace. Chen looked directly into the camera. The Vrex Dominion threatened our world. They believed we would surrender without a fight. They were wrong. We stood firm, we revealed our strength, and they retreated. Not because we wanted war, but because we were prepared for it. That preparation, that willingness to defend ourselves, that is what kept us safe. She smiled slightly. We remain committed to peace. We will continue to pursue friendship with other species. But we will never again hide the fact that we are capable of defending ourselves. Peace is not weakness. Peace is a choice made by those strong enough to fight but wise enough not to. The broadcast resonated across Earth and beyond. Humans felt pride in knowing their leaders had protected them. Alien species felt a mixture of respect and wariness. The galaxy's perception of humanity had fundamentally changed in a matter of days. At the Galactic Council, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. When Chen entered the council chambers now, conversations stopped. Representatives nodded respectfully. The mockery and dismissal were gone, replaced by careful politeness and genuine interest. The council held a special session to discuss Earth's revelation. Representatives from nearly every member species attended. The chamber buzzed with tension and curiosity. Ambassador Chen, the council speaker, began. Earth has demonstrated military capabilities far beyond what was previously known. Many council members have expressed concern about the implications. We request that you address these concerns openly. Chen stood and walked to the central platform. He looked around at the assembled aliens, seeing fear in some faces, curiosity in others, and calculation in still more. "I understand your concerns," he began. "You thought you knew humanity, and now you've discovered we kept secrets. That must be unsettling. But let me ask you this. How many species here have hidden capabilities? How many of you maintain intelligence networks you don't advertise? How many have contingency plans you don't share publicly?" Several representatives shifted uncomfortably. Chen's point was clear. Every species kept secrets. Humanity's military preparations were defensive in nature, Chen continued. "We built weapons to protect ourselves, not to conquer others. In the 200 years since we joined this council, have we ever threatened another species? Have we ever attempted to expand our territory through force? Have we ever used our military to intimidate or coerce?" He paused, letting the questions hang in the air. "We have not, because despite our capability for violence, we choose peace whenever possible. That choice, made freely by a species capable of war, is worth far more than peace maintained through weakness. But you deceived us, accused a representative from the aquatic species. You pretended to be harmless while hiding enough weapons to challenge any power in the galaxy. We presented ourselves as peaceful, which we are," Chen corrected. "We simply didn't advertise our defensive capabilities. There's a difference between deception and discretion. Would you have treated us with more respect if we had displayed our weapons from the beginning? Or would you have seen us as a threat to be contained?" The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew the answer. A heavily armed newcomer would have been viewed with suspicion and hostility, possibly even preemptively attacked. The Vrex delegate, a replacement for Commander Thrax who had been recalled in disgrace, rose to speak. "The Dominion acknowledges that we underestimated humanity. We made assumptions based on incomplete information. This was our error. However, the existence of such hidden military strength destabilizes the current balance of power. Does it?" Chen asked. "Or does it simply reveal that the balance was never what you thought it was? The galaxy assumed humans were weak because we chose to appear peaceful. That assumption was your mistake, not our deception." Over the following months, humanity's relationship with the galaxy evolved. Some species remained wary, keeping their distance from Earth and its colonies. Others sought closer ties, hoping to benefit from human technology and military expertise. A few, particularly smaller species that felt vulnerable, approached Earth with requests for protection or alliance. President Chen established a new department within Earth's government to handle these requests. She appointed Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a brilliant diplomat and strategist, to head it. Dr. Tanaka's mission was clear: build relationships based on mutual respect, not dominance. Help others defend themselves rather than defending them. Earth began sharing defensive technology with allied species, teaching them how to build their own hidden networks. Human military advisors traveled to other worlds, training local forces in tactics and strategy. It was a delicate balance, helping others without creating dependencies. The Vrex Dominion, meanwhile, faced its own reckoning. The humiliation of retreating from Earth had damaged their reputation. Other species they had bullied in the past began pushing back, emboldened by humanity's example. Some of the systems the Vrex had conquered demanded independence. Others formed defensive alliances to resist future aggression. Supreme War Leader Carthax, the highest military authority in the Dominion, called a meeting of the War Council. They gathered in a fortress on the Vrex homeworld, a massive structure built to project power and intimidate visitors. "The humans have changed everything," Carthax growled. "Species that once cowered before us now challenge our authority. Our expansion has stopped. Our reputation is damaged. This cannot stand. What do you propose?" asked one of the council members. "Another attack on Earth? Our intelligence now confirms they have even more capabilities than they revealed. A direct assault would be costly." "Not Earth," Carthax said. "But there are other human colonies. Smaller outposts with fewer defenses. We strike there, demonstrate our strength, and remind the galaxy that the Dominion is not to be trifled with." It was a dangerous plan, born of wounded pride and desperation. But the War Council, feeling the pressure of their declining influence, approved it. Within weeks, a Vrex strike force was assembled and sent toward a human mining colony on the edge of explored space. The colony, called New Horizon, had a population of 50,000. It was primarily a mining operation extracting rare minerals from a mineral-rich moon. By all appearances, it was a civilian settlement with minimal defenses. The Vrex strike force arrived expecting an easy target. They found something very different. As their ships approached the colony, proximity alarms screamed warnings. The mining facility they had dismissed as harmless began transforming. Mining lasers repositioned to target the incoming ships, ore processing facilities opened to reveal missile batteries. Cargo vessels that had seemed purely commercial activated weapon systems and moved to intercept. The Vrex had made the same mistake again. They had assumed that because something looked civilian, it was defenseless. They had forgotten that humans built everything with dual purposes in mind. The battle was brief and decisive. Human defensive systems, coordinated with precision born of extensive training, tore through the Vrex strike force. Within minutes, half the attacking ships were disabled or destroyed. The survivors fled, broadcasting emergency distress signals. Admiral Torres, monitoring the situation from Earth, watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Every human colony and outpost had been built according to the same principle. Look peaceful, be prepared. The Vrex had just learned that lesson the hard way. She opened a communication channel to the retreating Vrex ships. This is Admiral Sarah Torres of Earth Defense Command. You attacked a civilian colony without provocation. We have destroyed or disabled your attack force in self-defense. Return to your territory and inform your leadership that every human settlement, no matter how small or remote, is capable of defending itself. We will not initiate conflict, but we will end any conflict brought to us. The message was broadcast across all frequencies, ensuring that every species in the region heard it. Humanity's reputation as a peaceful but dangerous species was now firmly established.